All right, everybody, welcome back. It's a happier episode than last week's, so I'm sure Matt is super excited to get into today's one. But we got Cowboys, Vikings. Sorry, Riley, don't listen to the first half of this podcast. Uh, then we got Kansas City and LA, and then we got some interesting debate topics that we just want to kind of get into later for our football stuff. But let's get right into it as usual. Starting off with the Cowboys, we have our very happy Fanatic. I'm sure he's excited. So, Matt, the floor is yours. Take it away. How do you feel after this Cowboys win?
First off, how about them Cowboys? That was an awesome game. I mean, I can't even believe it's real. Like, they just played so good. Like, when does that ever happen? But how do I feel about my Cowboys? Pretty darn good, if you ask me. That was a clinic in terms of how to play a complete football game. You saw offensive execution, you saw the defense step up, and what was probably most impressive, Brett Maher looks like a Pro Bowl kicker this year. That dude is kicking the cover off the ball right now. So with all three aspects of the game going their way, um, I mean there really isn't much to say except to just clap. Great great job, guys. But kind of going back to how this game played out, everything started really fast, right? Vikings get the ball, first drive. Micah Parsons, he's back, makes a big strip sack on Kirk Cousins, kind of gets things going. The offense ends up getting a field goal, and then Vikings come back down, they get a field goal, and then from there, they did nothing. They did nothing on offense. It was the Dallas defense that locked it down. I think over the course of the game, they totaled 7 sacks, which is ridiculous. Um, I mean, everybody was getting in. Micah got the party started. Dorrance Armstrong had 2 sacks. Jaron Curse was blitzing. D Law was getting in there, wrecking havoc. Dante Fowler, the veteran. I mean, it was just everybody was eating at Kirk Cousins that day. And, there was a lot of scrutiny with Dallas's defense last week. And I was one of them. I said they did not play well last week, and they responded in a big way. Um, Obviously, the run defense is probably something that's still a little questionable, but I would say they kind of took that away because if you're killing a team by 30 points, you're not going to run the ball. So I'll leave that as kind of like we can't really analyze it too much in depth just because Minnesota had no choice but to get rid of the run game. But let's talk about the secondary play. There's a lot of hype about Justin Jefferson, and rightfully so. He's coming off a big game against Buffalo, absolutely torched them. He had a career high in receiving yards, probably had the catch of the year last game. Um, but it was an absolute clinic by Mr. Trayvon Diggs. I think he held Jefferson to, let me pull it up, 3 catches for 33 yards, and he was shadowing him the whole time. So I don't want to hear anything about Trayvon Diggs. He can't cover. He's not a lockdown corner because he did exactly what a lockdown corner does.
I mean,
He
Justin
traveled with
Jefferson was
just
hurt,
I don't
so
he's playing. I don't want to hear that. If he's hurt, then he shouldn't play. But Justin Jefferson, I think he's good. It's just that Trayvon Diggs is just a little better. He's just a little better. That was an absolute clinic by him in the secondary. So gotta tip my hat off to them. But let's get to obviously we talk about the special teams, right? Brett Maher was absolutely insane. I don't know, whoever had him in fantasy was probably really happy. I think he had about 29 points as a kicker, which is pretty darn good.
it's ridiculous.
But let's just talk about that one sequence that I thought was very like rigged is what I call it. So Dak makes a beautiful throw, best throw of the night. CD makes a great catch, toe tapping it on the sideline. We have a chance to end the half with a 60-yard kick. Maher ends up making it. And then after that, they're saying the kick doesn't count because the refs want to review the catch that CD had. I'm like, what? Like you can't do that. How can you review a play after Maher kicked the field goal? That made no sense to me. And I was livid because I was like, this is the kind of, you know what, that gets teams back into the game. And knowing Dallas's luck, Maher's going to miss the kick. The Vikings going to get some momentum going into the half. And we all know what happened last week. They blew a 14-point lead. So it's kind of like, here we go again. But Brett Maher silenced all of that. Not only did he make the kick, he made it even better than he did the first time. It didn't have that little, it looked like he was going to miss it, and then it kind of tailed back left. But that second kick was just straight down the middle. And Money Maher was very money on Sunday. So, great job, Brett Maher. If you can keep this up, you definitely will redeem yourself from your first stint in Dallas. Let me tell you that. But let's go to the offensive side of the ball. And this was wow. This was to me like this is what we're capable of. And it starts with Dak. And I gotta say, I rip him on all the time, but he was awesome. He was awesome that day. Probably his best performance as a Cowboy, I would say. He was that good. He made one bad pass that I thought, he should have made better, which was actually a completion to Noah Brown. I thought he underthrew it. But other than that, all the throws he made were precise. He was throwing it away from defenders, giving his receivers a chance to catch the ball without putting them in harm's way. So very accurate with the ball. I think it was 22 or 25. So I'll take that any day. We saw the running game, get going. Zeke was back. He was getting those tough yards. That's what we expect him to do. And lo and behold, Tony Pollard. I said he's a top five running back in the league now. And boy, did he prove me right. 80 yards rushing, 109 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. And that is why I kept saying you got to get Tony Pollard the ball in space and use him as a receiver because that's what he is best at. He was a receiver in college at Memphis, and boy, did he show why. I mean, the 2 passes that he caught for touchdowns were all on the edge. The first one was a simple, swing pass, but he's in space. And when Pollard gets in space, he's hard to tackle because he's so dang quick. And then the second one was a bomb, another beautiful throw by Dak. It was perfect. You get Pollard on a linebacker. I mean, that's easy money right there. And that's good offense. That's good offensive execution by Dak. That's good offensive execution by Pollard and good coaching by Kellen Moore. If you keep doing that, Kellen, trust me, you'll be on my good side. You got to do it more consistently though. So you're not there yet. Like this is one game. You're not there yet. But if we see that more, getting Pollard in space, using him in the passing game, um, who's gonna stop us? Oh, and let's talk about this. We could be getting another receiver maybe next week. Mr. OBJ. I'm kind of liking my chances now in getting Odell. So this team is flying high. I can't wait for Thanksgiving. Best holiday of the year for me, for everyone. Everybody watches Dallas Cowboy football on Thanksgiving. So I'm excited. We're on a roll. The Giants are going down. And I can't wait to be 8-3 after Thanksgiving.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Um, I was just gonna say, I think it's kind of interesting. How the two teams that Odell's kind of looking at right now, Dallas and New York, right? They play each other on Thanksgiving. So, not only could this be a game that's crucial for the division, it could be a game that's crucial in signing Odell, right? Um, Obviously Odell has the ties to New York. It sounds like he was interested in a reunion. He he's a star. New York, the New York media market is gonna love Odell, um, good or bad, because he just brings that kind of excitement to the New York media. So I think they are really hoping to get him, and the Giants definitely need help at receiver. Like they are just losing so many of their key guys at the receiver position. And Kenny Galladay is just a complete disappointment. So they desperately need Odell. But if I'm Odell, to be honest, I think Dallas is just the better fit if you want a shot to win. I think this year. Um, I don't know what kind of deal he wants to sign. It's probably gonna be a 1 year, I would imagine. But with how Dak is looking and how this offense is rolling and how the defense is going, this could be the perfect storm to kind of persuade Odell, hey, there's no tax in Texas, right? You can have all this land in Texas and you'll be scoring touchdowns from Dak. Whereas in New York, Daniel Jones has been up and down to say the least throughout his career. So it's going to be a big battle for the heart of OBJ, I would say it, this Thanksgiving. But back to this game, this is probably a scary sight to see if I'm the rest of the NFC in general, because Dallas has always been the team that has the potential but could never put all three phases together, like you were saying. And this was just a complete domination, all three phases. If the defense is flying around like that, if Dak is slinging it like that, and the run game is pounding the ball like that, I mean, there's no, stopping that. If all three phases, and Maher's drilling 60-yard field goals, like come on. So
Money Maher, man.
it was just this game was the perfect storm to show what the Cowboys can be. This is one game. I want to just say it was one game, and Minnesota, coming off the game of the year that we all agreed to. It was a game of the year, after those big emotional wins, right? It's always hard to kind of rebound and reset the following week. So it's probably the perfect storm for Dallas, because they get the narrative that they beat the team that just beat the AFC favorites, most likely. So this is the great for them. Oh, they beat the Vikings, who won the game of the year. But the Vikings, I mean, they laid an egg in this one, and that happens sometimes with the emotions. So I think they bounce back. They play the Patriots, I believe, on Thanksgiving. So, and they're at home. So I would expect some some angry Minnesota Vikings players. After you get embarrassed like that, typically you come out and you want to play hard. So I mean, good for Miami, to be honest. But yeah, really good stuff from the Cowboys. I told you Dak was legit, by the way. You were begging for Cooper Rush to come start this one game.
We would have
And
won with Cooper Rush. Let me say that.
okay, you would have won, but Dak looked good. Come on. I mean, you admitted it. Dak looked good
Yeah,
this
Dak was
game.
awesome.
And so I think for me, the thing though that impressed me, and it's kind of hard to say because they were ahead you know, playing ahead the whole game, but I mean, he made some good decisions. You could see him going through his progressions, taking his
Yep.
time. He wasn't pressing. So we probably need to see that type of Dak come out in, the close games or when you're trailing. He's not pressing, right, to try to force something down the field. But I mean, even the two touchdowns to Pollard, right? Especially that the shorter one where he just hit Pollard out in the flat. Pollard just ran past everyone,
Untouched.
untouched. Like, yeah. So that's all Dak needs to do, because he has that much talent around him. And especially if you guys get Odell, I mean, that's just gonna be pretty ridiculous, to be honest. So yeah, good game from your Cowboys, but yeah, Cowboys, if they can keep this up, definitely a threat in the NFC, I think. So
You know how good this game
Lose.
was for Dallas? They turned it off CBS. That's how
Oh, I
good they were
can't believe
playing.
that's kind of
They
ridiculous.
switched the games mid third quarter because Dallas was playing so dang good. So sorry, Riley. We didn't get to watch our whole game on national TV. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say good for Trayvon Diggs because I was dogging him all last year. But he's playing much better this year. He doesn't have the picks and he's not getting all the hype, at least from the NFL and NFL media. But to go along with your point, I think this is by far he's playing much better this year in the back on the back end. So props to Trayvon Diggs. I'm giving him his flowers. Okay, well, I think that's enough Cowboys talk for today. Let's move on to the rest of the NFL. So up next, let's go to another. I mean, when Kansas City plays the Chargers, it's always going to be a banger. These two teams know each other so well at this point. Both teams great quarterbacks, great offensive weapons. It's always an exciting game. It seems like it always comes down to the wire. I remember we were talking about that game. Was it last year between the or was that 2 years ago at this point? The overtime game when Travis Kelce um
That was last year,
that
I
was
think.
only last
That
year?
was
Okay.
last year. I think
So
so.
I mean they just always played each other tough. And so I mean let's just get down to the key points. So once again the Chargers just somehow find a way to blow it at the end, right? And I mean it's kind of not it's just I don't understand it at this point. It's like the Chargers and the Falcons, right? Those two organizations are just they did something to the NFL football gods that it's never going to be like an easy win for them. But, mistakes again by the Chargers late and they take the lead with what was it, a minute something left? Too much time for Mr. Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who I mean, we just got to get into those two guys really. It looks so easy on that last drive for that offense. I mean, no stress, no panic. Just oh yep, we'll just casually go, right down the field. But let's get to Mr. Kelsey. I think he is the definitely the talking point of this game. As great as Mahomes was, is what is it about Travis Kelsey, Matt? Because I've been thinking this for several years now, and obviously, he has good hands, but he's not the fastest tight end. Like I would argue Darren Waller is probably straight line speed faster than him. Kyle Pitts is probably faster than him. And when he's moving out there, he's not like a Gronk per se, where he's gonna run through you and just bounce off tackles kind of thing. But it's like when he gets the ball, no one can tackle him. And I don't understand it. Like, does he just look slower than he actually is on TV? Do you think he's just a shifty kind of tight end? What do you think it is? Because I've been thinking this for like several years now. And I can't every time I see it happen, I'm like, how do they not just tackle this guy? Like it doesn't look like he's outrunning it. He's not like Tyreek, right? Zooming past everyone. I don't get it. What do you think it is?
I don't know. I feel like he is kind of quick. And then going on that last drive, they showed that play where I think he ran like a drag route and Derwin James was on him, but he just like blew by him. Like there was no like contact at the line of scrimmage. He just ran straight across the field and just outran him. I was like, whoa, like, and Derwin James is not, he ain't slow. Like he's one of the best safeties in the league. So for Travis Kelce to kind of just run past him in that way I was like, oh. I didn't really see that from him before. But to me, what makes Travis Kelce so good is he kind of reminds me of Cooper Kupp in a way. Like Cooper Kupp is not the
Ooh,
fastest.
that's a good example. I like that.
Like like they just know how to find the open spots, and it's like they both kill each other or kill other teams in the zone. Like they always find that soft spot in the zone to me. That's what makes him so frustrating to guard to me. Like he's just smart. I mean, he's a veteran. He knows schemes. He knows what coverages are, so he knows what to expect, and it kind of helps when you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback too. But I would say he's kind of like Cooper Cup in a sense,
Ooh, I
and
like that a
just
lot.
finding that soft zone, just finding the open spot. That's all you got to do, right? At the end of the day, if you're open, you're gonna get the ball.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially having the connection with Mahomes, like Stafford does with Cup, and we can even showcase it. Last year when we thought Buffalo was gonna keep moving on in the playoffs, and then here comes Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, and they hit that little. I think Kelce like talked to Mahomes. He's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna slide right here up the seam, and I don't think they're gonna check me because we're in the middle of the field." Sure enough, he slides right in between, like right past the linebackers, hits them, goes down, call timeout, game winning field goal. It's like, what? 13 seconds? What? How did they just do that?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I guess that poses the question, Matt. What do you think? Is Kelsey the GOAT tight end after this game? I mean, it's getting harder to kind of deny it, but I don't know. You think he needs to play a little bit longer?
I think he needs to play. Yeah, I gotta say a little bit more. See, I'm biased. I think Gronk is the greatest tight end, just because like I'm talking about prime Gronk too. Like that dude was
Oh
unstoppable.
yeah.
But to me, what makes Gronk just a little better is blocking. I don't think Kelsey is at that level of George Kittle, obviously Gronk in terms of blocking. So, I kind of take that into consideration. Obviously, stats, big deal. Um, Kelsey's got that, obviously, with the rings. But yeah, I think Gronk is still the man. He's still the guy. But if Kelsey does this for another maybe 2, 3 years and he's still playing at a high level, like then I would say it's a pretty serious conversation to have. And it doesn't look like he's slowing down too, so I'll say that.
I think it's hard too because you really do need to factor in eras, right? It's play styles, it's personnel from, Shannon Sharp, we watch him quite a bit, right? On Undisputed. And so if you ever watch the clips that they play of him, he looks like a wide receiver in just a
Yeah,
six, whatever he is, 6'6", 6'7", 260. I don't even know what kind of frame he had back then, but he was a big dude playing in an era where, it's still predominantly run and in a scheme, right? That
the
is
West Coast.
yeah, right. So I guess it's kind of hard what just looking at stats because you put a Shannon Sharp with Patrick Mahomes, right? You put uh some of the great Tony Gonzalez, right? All these great tight ends over the years. So I think that is a good argument to be made, but stats don't lie at the same time. If he puts up these kinds of numbers for, the rest of his career at least, there's going to be serious debate, I think. I like the Gronk one because Gronk's prime is just he was just on a whole nother level from everyone else. But that, you could also argue it's like the Jordan and Braun argument, right? Like no, we haven't seen any career go as long as Braun's did in a prime. He's like obviously coming towards the end of it, but you know, he's still LeBron. And so do you take longevity over the short periods where they were good? It's like, yeah, leave that debate for another day. But I don't have him just yet as the best tight end, but simply for the fact that there's a lot to consider. I don't think the stats will back himself up enough. So that's my comments on that. All right, well, let's stick with the AFC. And so after this weekend, the whole AFC East is 2 games above 500, which is pretty ridiculous. So the Jets and New England both sitting at 6-4. Miami and Buffalo now sitting at 7-3. Matt, this is a really tough division, and it's kind of hard to predict a winner right now, but let's try. So at this point, with what you've seen so far, who do you think is the best team in that division right now?
Hmm. Well, let's just say to start, I think we all said it was Buffalo. I'm gonna still say Buffalo, but it's not like a lock like how I thought it was, 2 weeks ago, even. Buffalo has had some hiccups. We're kind of seeing Josh Allen stumble a little bit, maybe a mid-season slump. But yeah, I can't pick against Buffalo. I just think on paper they're still the best team, but Miami is definitely making it interesting. I will say that. Tua and Tyreek are playing out of their mind right now. You throw in Jalen Waddle. Hey, they got Bradley Chubb too. I mean, I'm sure he'll start picking it up more as he gets more comfortable in the system, but I'm still gonna pick Buffalo because I'm gonna say Josh Allen is the best quarterback in that division,
That's
even over
fair.
Tua right now.
That's fair. I obviously I'm pro Miami, but it's just like right now with how let's take in the past 3 weeks. Right now, I think I just have to give the slight nod to Miami just because I think Buffalo is gonna run Josh Allen into the ground. I think his arm's gonna fall off pretty soon. Like until I see them be more willing to rely on the run game, and I mean they ran it pretty well this past week against Cleveland, but I'm gonna need to see a lot more of that. And I'm gonna need to see their defense start playing like that elite defense that they have played like in the past. Amari just absolutely torched that secondary this past week. And I know they shut down Nick Chubb, but I they don't look as scary as they did at the beginning of the season. Whereas Miami, I think they're just on a hot streak right now. Everything could change in a couple weeks, right? But I have Miami just slightly ahead, just based on how they're efficient their offense is. They're running the ball well. Tua is looking good. They have the playmakers. Their defense finally is starting to play similarly to their defense did last year. If their defense, last week wasn't playing, uh, or I should say, was playing like how they were playing against Detroit and Chicago, I'd say nah, it's still Buffalo. But they shut down Nick Chubb and they shut down Jacoby Brissett at home. They did what they had to do, and that's why it's just a slight nod. It's real close, but I got it slightly over Miami just based on the momentum of kind of the past 3 weeks. So that's why I'm giving it to Miami. But it, anything could change. But really fast before we get off this, I just want to get at the other AFC East team. So Zach Wilson, uh, you know, I don't hate Zach Wilson. I never had anything against him. But I just gotta say, his comments this past weekend are just if I was a player in that locker room, would piss me off for sure. And so even Dan Orlovsky broke it down today on NFL Live, I think, on ESPN, and there are just clips of players with visibly frustrated body language after some of Zach Wilson's quarterback play this past weekend. And once it's one thing to be frustrated with your quarterback, right? But it's another to visibly show it immediately after the play on the field, right? A lot of times they'll take it to the sideline, like vent it out. They scream and yell at each other, whatever. It's football, it's a competitive game. Once they start showing that on the field, and Zach Wilson is going to not take any accountability for how his offense played, like, come on, man. That's the easiest thing you could probably say as an NFL quarterback, right? Josh Allen, when after he had played bad, is like, no, I played terrible, right? It's on me. I got to play better. You ask a lot of probably almost every other quarterback in the league after they play like that. they will say, no, yeah, I played terrible. I gotta be better. You know, you don't even have to. They didn't even ask him. It was Zach, did you let them down? They said the offense. Did the offense let the defense down? And he said no. Right. So it wasn't even targeted at him. Right. Is I can get defending yourself, but man, if I'm a defensive player, I'm pissed because that New York Jets defense is legit. I think they're a top five defense. I'm pretty sure statistically. And if my quarterback is going to come out and say they didn't let us down after we allowed 3 points, it was the special teams that allowed the touchdown. Wasn't the defense, right? So I'd be pissed. I don't know how you would feel.
I mean, I think I would be offended too, right? How much better can you play? You're playing, what did they play? Patriots, right? In
Mm-hmm.
Foxborough, and you hold them, you kept them out of the end zone. I mean, what more can you do? It's just a sick comment by Zach Wilson. And, I kind of saw it a little later, so kind of getting this fresh. But yeah, like, I mean, you're a pro now. This is not college, not high school. Like, you're playing a grown man's league. Like, act like an adult. Like, you're the quarterback. If you play well, if the team plays well, you're going to get the credit. But if the team's not playing well, especially offensively, you got to be able to take that accountability and say, yep, I'm the starting quarterback of the team, and I got to play better. That's really all he had to do. Even if he meant it, like, you know, just say it.
Yeah,
Just
you don't have to mean it.
don't throw your team under the bus with the media watching. Like, hash it out, behind closed doors. Do what you need to do in private, but don't say that in front of the media with everybody watching.
It's like probably the
Like
worst answer you could
yeah,
give. Nope.
yeah. It was like a one word answer too. There was no like nothing. It was just straight no.
Yeah, it's
So
ridiculous.
I mean, Zach Wilson looks like he's like 15, so I don't know. Maybe he is 15.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a good sign if I'm a Jets fan, especially with my team, in the playoff hunt.
In the
You
hunt.
don't want this kind of, animosity in the locker room to, really take your season down because you still, you can win the division still. It's right there. So
Mm-hmm.
just that kind of comment is what, ruins season internally. So Zach Wilson, man, you got to take accountability.
I agree. All right. Well, let's round off this football segment with a little segment here. So as we look, the playoff teams in both conferences, pretty much 1 through 9, have a pretty decent shot to still make it. So we're gonna exclude all the division leaders at this point. So we're gonna look through the 6 through 9 teams in each conference. Um, and we're gonna give our two answers of who our picks to make the playoffs, and then one of those teams that has a serious chance at making a run and upsetting a lot of teams in the playoffs. So, Matt, I'll let you start first. Let's start with the AFC. Who do you got?
Ooh, I mean, these bubble teams they're really tough. I mean, they all have the potential, but I gotta go with Cincinnati. I think they're the defending AFC champs. We know what they're capable of doing, obviously with their run to the Super Bowl last year. They're starting to pick it up, I think. I will say though, it all depends on Joe Mixon's health. If he's hurt, forget it. They're not winning. But with a healthy Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase is gonna come back. They got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Hayden Hurst is playing well at tight end. Their defense is playing much better than they did last year. So I think Cincinnati is still a big threat to make a run in the playoffs. And in the AFC, I mean the NFC. Ah, this is tough. But at this point, I'm probably gonna have to say it's Seattle because I think they have an identity that the other teams don't have, really. And if Gino can just play consistent, like how he's been doing, just taking care of the ball, make throws when you need to, their defense is legit. They got legit corners. Like it's like a mini Legion of Boom almost with Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen. They got Jordan Brooks at linebacker. So I like what Seattle has. They have a running game now with Kenneth Walker as a legit RB1. You still have DK and Tyler Lockett on the outside. This team is they're dangerous. They're very dangerous. And Pete Carroll, he's been there before. So anytime you have an experienced coach, it's going to be tough to get them out. So I'm going to say the Bengals and the Seahawks for me.
All right. Well, you didn't give me your other playoff team from each one, but that's okay. Uh, I'll say in the AFC, I was between New England and the Bengals, but I don't know what it is this year, but I would give the slight nod to New England actually, just because it's gonna get cold and it's gonna be New England Patriots football. The only thing I'm concerned about is the quarterback and the offense. I think their defense is just playing lights out right now, but I, I would give the slight nod to New England just because the Bengals just have been too inconsistent for me this year and just not running the ball enough, like you said. But I would have New England and the Bengals both making the playoffs in the AFC. NFC, I think it's gonna be this might sound crazy, but I think it's gonna be Seattle and Washington making the playoffs out of those teams. Something about New York, man, that scares me, especially how they look against Detroit. Can't be looking like that. Um, so I don't know. I think New York is gonna choke, and I for whatever reason believe in Taylor Heineke a little more than Daniel Jones, just a little bit more right now because they just play scrappy football behind Heineke. But I think I'd have to agree that Seattle probably is the biggest threat to upset one of the top teams because they know the Niners, so they know how to play them well, and they have the offense I think to keep up with the other four teams. And yeah, they're Gino's playing lights out. They got that young defense and Pete Carroll, so that's why I'll give it to Seattle as well. But yeah, Seattle and Washington, I think they're gonna end up making the playoffs there. Something about New York though, it scares me. They're losing too many receivers. Who's Daniel Jones
Yeah,
gonna throw to?
and it's Daniel Jones. Why would you put faith in Daniel Jones? That's all I gotta say. Don't count out the Packers too. Don't count out Mr. Discount Double Check. I
I
know
thought
they're
they're
kind
are
of
they not out? They're four and
they're
seven.
I know, but it's
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 gonna
just
have to be like a
you
miracle run.
but it's still Aaron Rodgers. He beat my team. Like I'm still like, how did he do it? So I gotta give him some respect there.
I guess. I think they're done. I think they're cooked. But I guess we'll see. All right. Well, that was a fun little football segment. Okay. Well, we'll wrap that up there then, and we will just take a short break really fast, and then we'll be back with college football, basketball, and some baseball talk. So stick around. Okay. Let's kick off the second part. So, Matt, we'll get into college football here. Big Utah versus Oregon game. I didn't watch it, but you being the Oregon fan of this show, why don't you take us through Oregon's win against Utah?
Well, it was started off pretty good. Offense came out firing. They scored pretty quickly. Bucky Irving got going in the end zone. Um, but it's like they just kind of hit a stone wall in the second half. They just couldn't score. And probably because Bo Nix got hurt a little bit, I will say. He injured that ankle again. Um, and then Ty Thompson comes in, the guy who's kind of been the chosen one for the past 2 years, almost gave the game away in a sense because he it was a bad. It was like a reverse, and then he pitched it so late that the receiver bobbled it, and then Utah had a scoop and score that let him back in the game. I was like, oh no, like I don't know about him anymore. But yeah, it was a typical Oregon almost collapse, but I got to give credit to the defense in this one. They really held it down, especially after what Utah did to them last year, because Utah beat them twice last year, and it was bad, right? They played in Utah last year, couldn't stop the run, just gashed them. And then they play again in the Pac-12 championship. Same story, exact same story. And this time, Cam Rising, he was a Heisman. He looked like a Heisman Trophy winner last year playing against Oregon. This year, he looked, I would say, maybe like Joey Yellen playing quarterback. Like looked a little more.
Yes.
He looked a little more human. Three picks for the Oregon defense. Two of them by Bennett Williams, their safety, senior safety, who was outstanding in this game. Like I said, two picks, also had 13 tackles. Noel Sewell had the other one off a deflection. But it was good to see the Oregon defense really, step it up. And especially coming off of the Washington game where they got absolutely gashed by Michael Penix for over 400 yards in the air. They really locked it down this game. So a nice bounce back win. Um, I know it's tough, when you lose a upset against UW, you're out of the college football playoff race, but they're still in the hunt for a Pac-12 championship. And if they beat Oregon State next week, which they will, Blaze, they will. Mark my words, they will beat Oregon State next week. And they can go on to play USC for the Pac-12 title. And I would say that's a pretty, it's a disappointing season, but still successful in the terms of, first year head coach, trying to rebuild and get a new identity with the program. So, hey, the seniors came out with a win on their senior night. That's all you can ask for at this point. Um, they took care of business against a tough Utah team. So it's on to the Civil War, and there's a lot at stake in this game. So I'm excited for this one. And especially I know the Oregon State boys out there, you know who you are. We're coming for you.
Okay. Well, that's always a fun game. At least we went to. I'm glad I can say I got to see one Civil War in person. That was a fun little road
Hmm
trip we took. But I am not cheering for either side. I am impartial. I will be a spectator. Uh, just give me a beer and I'll be good. Cheer for both teams. Okay, so moving on. Got to talk about our other college football playoff team, or sorry, not playoff.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
sorry,
like the
sorry,
expectations.
sorry. College football team, far from the playoffs, I should say, is UH. So it was senior night in Manoa, and I'll just say at least we came away with a victory. So that's the important thing, right? Still doing some UH things with the turnovers and all of that stuff, but I would say this is arguably one of the best games that Braden Shaker has played. Matt, would you say that? Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. Yeah, I think he's played better to be honest, but yeah, I give him, one of his three best games as a UH quarterback. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it was funny. So like we were watching the game with everyone, and I think after his one of his which touchdown was that? His third touchdown, second touchdown, or third touchdown? Uh I was like, oh man, Shaker's playing so great tonight. Everyone's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, you know what this means? He's gonna be our starting quarterback next year too. Yeah, like, wow, way to kill the
Uh,
mood, Greg. But I mean, he played well. So this is the Braden Shaker that has had the potential we saw last year, right? Pocket guy. If he has his first read open, he can probably hit it. We'll work on the other progressions, Braden. But I mean, he played well enough to get the win. You know, um, Bowens had that huge touchdown catch, and we finally saw Caleb Phillips get in there. But I mean, it was really the Dedrick Parsons show again, right? He's been the stud of our team, that offense for the past 4 years, and gonna be sad to see him go because he's been good or reliable. But hopefully, we can keep Mr. Tylen Hines because as good as Dedrick is, he's like a consistent every down kind of back, right? Like he's not gonna blow you away with his speed, but he's fast enough. He's physical enough of a runner. But Tylen Hines just has that breakaway speed, that home run hitting speed, Tony Pollard esque, if I might even make that comparison.
Okay, let's
So
not get too carried away here.
I mean, he has the speed. It's just that that burst speed that you see. But I was just happy because Dedrick Parson, he kind of exemplified, I think, the leader that he was in this game. You know, he did he have the fumble? Was one of it
It
his?
was Hines.
Oh, it was Hines. So Hines had the fumble, but Dedrick Parsons, when we needed someone to close out the game, he came through. He picked up the huge first downs, and then he hit the touchdown right at the end, kind of helped seal that one. So I mean, I would just in all of his that touchdown run that he had, he it just the patience I think that I saw, because it was kind of a slow developing play when he ran to the right hash. There was nothing there, and I was like, oh man, I just hope he gets a couple yards. Sure enough, just squirts through a hole and just hits his head on the goalpost. So it was a great way to end his career at UH. And I mean, even he was sliding down or staying down in bounds when we were trying to milk clock, and just like that veteran play that was really good to see from him. So I'm glad it ended on a good note for him. But yeah, I mean, just I'm glad we have 3 wins, Matt. We didn't even think we'd be here. Look at us. Um,
I'm shocked, yeah. I'm pretty shocked. With the way the season started, I didn't think we were gonna get 3 wins.
we're halfway to being bowl eligible, so we double our wins this year, and we'll be good. But it's gonna be tough because Logan Taylor also played a great game, right? He had the pick off the
That was a great play.
I mean, it was funny because like when they replayed it, he was like going with he was doing this. I don't know if you saw it from because you were at the game live, right? But they like replayed it, and like after an incompletion, right? The DBs will go like no catch. So he was like halfway through the no catch, and then the ball just bounced right into his hand, and he's just like, "Oh, look what I found." But like the announcers were saying, it was good because UH finally got one of those bounces to go their way. It's been a rough season, right? But I wanted to applaud one thing as well. So we've been fairly critical of Timmy this year, at least as a coach, right? Like scheming wise and time management, decision making, penalties, all that stuff. But I must say that I think the part he is doing well is making connections with the players and establishing a culture that, the one thing we were saying with Hunter and even before was we want to see them at least play hard every game, every snap, right? Even if we're not that good, we, we never saw this team give up ever. So I must say that there was no, you know, bad body language or, you know, the sense that they're like, oh, we just suck. We're going to give up. Right. We never saw that. And at the end of the game, Timmy Chang took time. It was almost every player, that walked out, every senior that walked out with their family, friends, whoever was with them. You could tell he was talking to the parents, giving some encouraging words about the players. And to me, that was the part that was like, okay, and we don't really know what happens with their game plan and stuff, but to see him taking the time to make those connections with players, right, and their families, to me, that's what's gonna get the local talent to stay home, and what's gonna get us transfers from outside. It's to know a coach that like really cares about them and really wants them to succeed. That impressed me the most. So I'm glad to have seen that from Timmy. I hope that'll snowball into next year, and we have some good momentum going into next year. But I mean, we got one more game left. Hopefully, we finish it on a good note, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, you were at the game, Matt. How was it? Besides getting rained on.
Pretty miserable weather conditions, I will say. I was pretty soaked in the pouring rain, but it was interesting because in the beginning it was just kind of like, here we go again. Like UNLV just moves down the field, first drive, boom, boom, boom. They actually hold them to three, which was good. And then UH actually responds, counters that with a touchdown. So nice job there. But just kind of everything was just like teetering on just going with the flow. And then the fourth quarter happened. We finally get something good. Logan Taylor gets the pick. He was a ball hawk the entire game. I think he had 11 tackles. And then, we get a good 8-point lead, and then all of a sudden Shager fumbles the ball. And UNLV scores. And it's like, oh boy, here we go again. And then Tylen Hines goes down, we go down the field. Tylen Hines, Mr. Golden Child, fumbles the ball, and it's like, oh my gosh, like this is classic UH not being able to close out the game. But like you said, like who was the guy that kind of had the icing on the cake? It was our senior, Dedrick Parsons, the catalyst of the offensive unit this year. So I think it was good to see him get that final touchdown to really seal it. It's always good to have the seniors rise up and have big games. So for Parsons, even Logan Taylor, a senior, he was to me, he was the most impressive player for UH this game. But I will say though, going on this last game, obviously they're playing San Jose State on the road against our old quarterback, Mr. Cordero. If they can beat Chevin, like I would say that's a pretty successful season, as bad as it started. Right? This is kind of like our bowl game, right? We get a chance to play Chevin, beat him, like make him regret why he left Hawaii. You know, like this is our bowl game, and if we beat Chevin and we end our season with a 2-game winning streak going into the next year in the fall, I mean,
That's
I would
huge, I
say that
think.
that's I would say that's a very good first year for Timmy. I will admit that. So I'm hoping that they can, because that'll definitely help recruiting. The more wins, the better. But yeah, let's just finish this season strong. We want to see improvement from this UNLV game.
All right. Well, who would have thought we have some positives from the UH game this year? But you know what? I don't want to jinx us. Let's hope they stay hot.
Yeah, let's finish strong.
Let's finish strong there. But let's get to some NBA talk, Matt. We haven't really talked about it too much since the season began. A lot of football. Obviously, we had baseball going on. But let's take a little check in, I guess you could say. So we'll start with my Lakers. Not a ton to talk about. It was a really ugly beginning of the season. LeBron is out right now. He hasn't been playing. He's dealing with some injury stuff. But I must say, we're on a 3-game win streak as it currently stands. And it's on the back of who we needed. Anthony Davis is finally, it's only been 3 games, but in the past 3 games, he's been playing like the old Anthony Davis, right? 3 straight games of 30 plus points and 15 plus rebounds. That's the kind of AD we've been needing this whole past 2 years. I don't know where he's been. He's playing aggressive. That's if he can keep this up, we have a chance to make the play-in tournament. I truly believe, especially because Russ has now embraced the 6-man role. I think when LeBron comes back, we have a chance to go on a run, and I think this team, it's still not the most talented. We still need more shooters, in my opinion, but with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, if he can stay healthy, please God, if he can stay healthy and Russ is going to be fine coming off the bench later in the season, I think we have a chance to sneak in to the play in. And from there, all you need to do is get into the play in, right? And it's playoff basketball from there. Who knows what can happen? But we have a sneaky chance to be that 9 or 10 seed. I truly believe that. So that's all I'll be praying for: a healthy AD and a healthy LeBron. And I think we have a chance. So that's my little Lakers update on that. Our other team is doing much better. Our quote unquote home team, college home team, the Blazers, they just have been playing so well this season. And I don't know how much we talked about it before, but in the games that I've been watching and the highlights I've been seeing, it's just the culture on this Blazers team. There's something a little bit different. And it was great, when we had CJ and everyone back in was that 2018, right? When we made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Everyone got along, but it's something about this team right now. After the game, the buzzer beaters for the win. It's like the whole team is mobbing the guy. And it's not just Dame anymore, which is probably the best thing that could happen to Dame. And I really hope he gets some flowers because he took a lot of heat from people for not leaving, right? And he like, oh, he's loyal to a fault, right? Loyal to a fault, blah blah blah. But I think we're seeing that loyalty kind of pay off now because they don't even have Gary Payton back yet, but Josh Hart, Shaden Sharp, that rookie, that dude is special. Uh, Simons, Jeremy Grant, it could be a different guy every night, and it's something about that unselfish, you know, team camaraderie that is just infectious. And so it really could be a different guy night to night, right? Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant are hitting game winners now. And so Simons isn't afraid of the moment. We still got Dame. Nurkic is playing better this year, I would say. I mean, he got dunked on tonight by Giannis, but he's been playing better. And so I have a really good feeling that this Blazers team can make a pretty deep playoff run, especially with how the West is looking right now. I think they have a chance. That's my takeaways, at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off of that too. So I think they're struggling a little bit, have a little 3 game slide, but I think what are the understandings? They're eighth right now, but they're only 1 game back of first place. So that's how close everything is. But kind of going to your point, Gary Payton is not there, and we saw what he can do in terms of impacting a game on the big stage, right? Last year at Golden State, his defense. We don't even need his offense, honestly. We just need his defense. Like, we got enough scorers, but his defense is going to be huge for this team. And they already are a much better defensive team, which is shocking because we've never seen a Blazer team play defense, right? So it's good to see Chauncey, enforcing that side of the ball and really getting them to buy in playing defense because that's how you're going to win games. That's how you're going to win games, and that's how you win championships. That's how Golden State wins all the time. That's how all these great teams win. They have a backbone on defense. And I will say the guy that's kind of individually kind of changing that is Jeremy Grant. He was the big offseason trade slash acquisition. What he's been doing so far is more than what you could have expected, to be honest, for me.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost the second option behind Dame, you could say. He's taking shots in the clutch. He's making them in the clutch. And we know what kind of wing defender he is. So he's really kind of changed the outlook of this Blazer team. And kind of like what you said, right? You've been saying this for years, ever since they made the Western Conference Finals, that they need athletic wings.
I've been
And that's
saying that for like
exact
4 years now. They finally
it,
listened to me.
and that's who they got. They got Jeremy Grant. He's exactly what that is. Even Gary Payton, he's a guard, but
He plays
athletic
like a wing.
wing guard.
Mm-hmm.
Shaden Sharp, who they drafted, that dude he's
I
lanky.
can't believe he's only a
Um,
rookie though. Like
yeah, I mean,
his skill
he has
set
some shooting
is,
slumps,
but
but
yeah,
he's there. And hey, don't forget about Nazir Little too. He's got some athleticism. He's got some size. So I kind of like how this roster is kind of shaping up. And Dame just needs to stay healthy. Like
honestly,
he's kind of getting dinged a little bit now. So it's a little concerning, but at the same time, it's allowing for Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, these guys to kind of step it up a little bit. So if they can tread water, without Dame. Uh, they can make a push, and I'm with you. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year at least, and hey, they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, good for them. Good for the Blazers. I'm happy for
Finally,
Dame.
yes.
This team feels like it could go somewhere. We'll definitely get into more NBA stuff as the season goes on. Obviously, we're only, 17, 18 games into the season, so it's kind of hard to say too much, but I will say the West looks really good once again. The East not too bad, but I would say the West is still a little bit better at this point. But I just want to point out a couple quick surprises for me. The Kings are fifth in the West somehow. They are playing really well with that new tandem that they got in De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. So those guys, and actually Kevin Herter is playing pretty well, surprisingly for them as a starter now. But yeah, Kings have kind of been the surprise team for me on that side, and then the East kind of between either the Pacers or the Wizards, who have been kind of surprisingly been pretty good. And I will say on that team, the surprise has been Kuzma. And I thought we had already seen Kuzma's ceiling, but he's been pretty impressive. He's kind of right behind Bradley Beal, and sometimes he takes over as that number one option on offense for them. It's kind of surprising to me, but good for Kuz. I didn't think we would see him progress much more than we already had, but you know, good on him for keep chugging along. Um, anyway, that was my surprises. Oh, and Wade wanted me to shout out Yuta Watanabe. Uh, I don't know if he's the only Japanese player in the NBA right now, but he's certainly the best one right now. He's leading the league in 3-point percentage, which is great. I mean, we said it's only been 17 games, but he's shooting it at 58%. He's always played defense, and he's finally gotten that role uh carved into the Nets. And I just gotta feel happy for him after Ant damn near killed him last year. Ant as in Anthony
Edwards.
Edwards put him on the poster of the year last year. Uh, always hard, to look up and see the Asian representatives in the predominantly non-Asian league get murdered like that. So, obviously as Asian Americans, we like to see that representation, right? It's good for, I think, everyone to be able to look up like that. And now Utah's finally doing well. So, there's hope, I would say. So don't give up, kids. You can still make it to the NBA, even if you're Japanese. You hear that, Hayato? You can make it, bud.
Yeah, we're talking to you. This is the segment. It's all part of our plan to
Yeah,
motivate our Mr.
yeah.
Hayato.
But anyway, that's enough NBA. We'll get into more as the season goes on. Let's get into, and I guess we can wrap up with some baseball. So last week we didn't know the Cy Young or MVP yet. Now it's official. So Sandy Alcantara and Justin Verlander took home the Cy Youngs. No surprises there. And Paul Goldschmidt and Mr. Judge took home the
Yes.
MVPs.
Yes.
I
It's
believe
official.
all the writers got those votes correct. Were you surprised Aaron Judge wasn't unanimous?
Oh yeah, I have something to say on that. How in the heck is he not unanimous? I mean, that is ridiculous.
Did they
Like there's
release the writers
yeah, they
voting?
did. So
So who
there's
was it?
30 voters. There is I don't know who specifically, but both of them were LA like based, like Angel writers. And I'm like, come on, like this is not even about Shohei. Like we kind of know what Shohei is at this point. So what he did, yes, it was a great season, but how can you not vote for someone that had a historical season? Like historical. He was in the Triple Crown running to the last day, which is absurd. Oh, and by the way, he has the new record for the AL home runs. You ever heard of that? What record has Shohei broke? Tell me. He hasn't
I'm
broke anything
sure
yet.
Shohei has broken some records
But
as
is
the
it a record that's
player pitcher combo kind of thing.
well, he's not the first guy. A guy named Babe Ruth was there before. Just let me say that. But all I gotta say is you it's disrespectful to the game of baseball to not vote for Aaron Judge because you're disrespecting the history of the game. Right? He broke an unbreakable record to some degree, right? With so many strikeouts now in baseball, like we thought we would never see something like that, but 62 home runs is absurd. And just the cherry on top was that he was in the Triple Crown race too. Oh, and by the way, his team, yes, they didn't win the World Series, but they did go to the ALCS. Shohei's team is on the couch to start. So, what are you supposed to do with that? So, that's all I got to say. You two writers, I don't know who you are, but you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely pretty interesting. That they don't have him as unanimous. I'd have to you have to give Judge the nod as first place. Um, if Judge doesn't have the historic season that he has, like I was saying, Shohei probably wins it because his numbers are better this year, I think, than his MVP year. But you got to tip your hat to Aaron Judge with just how great he played this year in the regular season, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. It's a regular season award.
But let's stick with the Yankees, Matt. So let's move on to free agency, right? It's heating up just a little bit. There's starting to hear some rumors come out, but one thing that's for sure is your shortstop resigned, Mr. IKF. So he picked up, or I should say the Yankees picked up, right, his second year. And he signed his $6 million to come back to New York. How are you feeling about that one?
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Because, you know,
I mean, it's only 6 million. That's not gonna
I
hurt.
don't know. I really don't know how to feel about that. Yeah, and true, to your point, it is 6 million. So I do think he's gonna be the shortstop to start
Really?
the season. I do.
See, that's what
I
Wade
think he
said too.
is.
I
I think
can't
so.
see him being the shortstop. So I
I
thought
think
for sure third base.
well, if they get rid of Donaldson, which I really hope they will, but I don't know what dumb team would trade for him, but I think he's going to be the shortstop to start, but by May, June, I better see Peraza or Volpe, in that position because it's Isaiah was brought in to be a bridge shortstop anyway. He wasn't brought in to be the future. So I really don't know how to feel about this. I think it does depend on how again free agency shapes out. There's a lot of rumors that Gleyber Torres is on the market now, so if he's gone, maybe Peraza plays second. I don't know. I mean, they got LeMahieu coming back, but he's also injured. So there's just a lot of things that we don't know. But yeah, I think Isaiah's going to start for a month, and then he's going to be a utility role player, I think.
See him being
So
another
I
utility
I don't know.
role
Yeah,
player guy.
I think so.
He'd be a nice. Well, let's hope he gets back to his Gold Glove. He takes the off season to really work on his fielding again. He returns to that, even if it's not at the Gold Glove, just kind of on the upper half of defensive play in the MLB. That's just a good glove to have,
Yeah,
I think. That option guy, almost like a Kike when Kike was on the Dodgers, right? Guy you can
yeah,
kind of put anywhere on the infield. You can just plug him in, don't have to worry about his defense. That's always a good guy to have. So, I mean, obviously I'm gonna cheer for him, Hawaii boy. But do I think he's the long-term answer for the Yankees at this point? Probably not. So, that's good to see. Um, I guess let's just stick with New York here. So Aaron Judge visiting the Giants, terrifying for both of us, I'm sure. But how confident? What do you think? Do you think he really would consider going somewhere else at this point, or what do you think? Is it going to come down to money? Is it where he wants to play? I haven't heard anything about Judge. So, what
I
do you think?
I'm still on the stronger half of confident that he comes back to New York. I think, this is just the free agent process. He's obviously going to listen to every team's offer. Why would you not, right?
Right.
So I think this is just part of the process. Nothing to panic about yet. If he does make it official and he leaves, we're gonna riot. That's all I'm gonna say. There's gonna be some kind of riot in New York. Brian Cashman, you better go find shelter because we're coming for you. All these angry mob fans they're coming. But I'm pretty confident that Aaron Judge stays in New York, in the Bronx, I will say.
Yeah, I gotta make that for sure. Well, we can always swap outfielders because we let
No,
go of Cody
no,
Bellinger.
no,
So
no.
Cody is now a free agent. You can take him, and we'll take Aaron Judge, both
Oh,
former MVPs now. So, you know, MVP for an MVP, right? But I mean, I am a little sad. It was probably inevitable with how Cody was playing in the regular season. He was clutch for us last year in the playoffs. This year, not so much. Obviously, he still is a Gold Glove talent. He can play defense with the rest of them, but he was getting a little frustrated with Dave, and I think it was just time for him to get a fresh start. Might be time for a lot of these Dodgers to get a fresh start, but I at this point I'm hoping we can just bring back Trey Turner because I think he is just such a unique talent with his speed as well. And if I'm being honest, I kind of want Trey Turner back. I would want him back over them going after Aaron Judge because I mean, I know Judge has the bat, right? But it's something about Trey Turner's speed when he's on the bases that's just so game changing to me. And in the playoffs, when it comes down to getting on base, a normal ground, like a high chopper, can turn into a base hit. He can stretch first to third, like just so many things like that. And just the speed that he plays with. Um, he added home run hitting to his arsenal this year. I don't know. I'm just a Trey Turner guy. I really hope we re-sign Trey Turner because I'm kind of
yeah.
scared he's gonna leave. But I
I,
really
I
hope we
think he's
keep
going
Trey
to the
Turner.
East Coast. But you know what? You keep your guy, I'll keep my guy.
I Okay, that's fair. I'm cool with
Right
that.
there, you keep your guy, I'll keep my guy.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, I've been hearing, yeah, the um East Coast. But man, if we don't get Trey Turner, we better go hard at Aaron Judge. And if we don't get Aaron Judge, I think we got to go for Dansby. I think Dansby is also a free agent. And with how he's been hitting, if we can't get any of those guys, Dansby, the consistent glove, and because he has a better glove than Trey. But he really amplified his hitting this year. But I don't know if he's gonna leave Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta's gonna let another one of their guys go. But yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, that's that's a good note to end on. We'll cover this more as we hear more news about it. But Matt, in our weekly tradition, why don't you wrap us up with our sports fact of the day?
All right. So, sports fact of the day for November 21st. So, in 1934, the New York Yankees get Joe DiMaggio from the San Francisco Seals. Who are the Seals? Apparently, they're in the Pacific Coast League, but probably one of the best acquisitions the Yankees got in
The
history.
San Francisco
Joe
Seals.
DiMaggio, the guy who holds the record that I think will never be broken, is that 56 game hit streak.
Probably never be
One of
broken.
the goats. Oh, but also maybe we can call it a sports fact, but we can call it a bonus fact. But today is one of the greatest days for someone. Happy birthday to my quarterback, Cooper Rush.
Oh my.
He
You're
turns 29
one of
today.
your quarterbacks.
He's great. Happy birthday, Cooper Rush. Great season so far. always be ready because you never know with the guy in front of you. So stay ready, my man.
Off with the Dak slander,
Have
man.
a good one.
All right. Well, that's two facts. The two facts. You got 2 for 1 this week, everybody. But thanks for listening. It was a fun one this week. We'll be back after Thanksgiving weekend. Everyone, I hope everyone has a safe and happy Thanksgiving from the fan and the fanatic. We hope everyone stays safe. Enjoy time with your loved ones, and everyone eat good this weekend. You know, yeah, it's holiday season. It's good vibes, man. We're vibing.
Yeah, eat good and watch the Cowboys. It's Happy Cowboy Day, baby.
Yeah. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, from the fan and fanatic. We'll be back next week, and we'll see you guys then.